Hi everyone, it's Shirley Farrar, and this is Encouragement on Fire. Today we are continually talking about life-work balance, and it is about self-reflection. So I hope that you are staying with us on this path and you have decided that you're going to do this career transition with us. Okay, so the first week we talked about assessing your current situation, and we talked about identifying dissatisfaction as well as evaluating your achievements. So I hope you're doing the homework as we are moving forward. The second step we talked about is clarify your values and your interests. And we said for you to determine the core value system that you have, as well as identifying your interests. So if you were taking time, putting it in a journal, and you're doing the work, you're going to find out that later on, you're going to say, oh my goodness, all of this is working together for my good. And I can have more clarity as I'm moving forward. So now this is step number 3 that I'm going to give you today. Today we are going to analyze your strengths and your weaknesses. Now I know many of you are thinking right now, "Ooh, this sounds like I'm in an interview." Well, it's career transitioning, right? And we have to figure out as we reflect how we are going to get there. So I want you to start to think about your strengths. It's really important because where do your strengths come from? Some strengths that we have are innate. It's just something that I just have. No matter what I do, I just am strong in some areas of my life. Well, if you know those, write them down. Write them down in that journal. And then there's going to be some things that because of your family, your culture, your whatever you've been involved in, you're strong in some areas based on that. Write it down. Because you're going to start to see, wow, my strengths are coming from different areas, right? And then I want you to, if, like I said, I'm a faith-based person, so I always go back to the Bible. And so I want to share that with you as well. So I want to take you to a scripture. And this particular scripture, well, I know all of you are thinking, well, I know one particularly about strengths, and that's Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, which is a fabulous scripture. It's wonderful. And you should write that on a cue card and have that maybe in your car, have it somewhere. But there is another scripture that I want to share with you. And let me see if I can find it. It is Isaiah 41:10. It says, "Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not anxiously look about you, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. Surely I will help you. Surely I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." So a lot of times we want to be stronger in some areas. And those areas, sometimes we're, like I said, we're more equipped. And that's where you get your strength from. So, whether it was you worked overtime or whatever, but you're still strong in those areas. Well, think about it this way. God has provided you that area of strength. So now that you can use that in whatever it is that you are purposed to do. Because we're always going to go back to, why am I here? Isn't that the ultimate question that many of you are wondering? Why am I here? I've been living so many years. I've been living this amount of years, and I still quite haven't figured it out. Well, as you're moving forward in your career transition and we're going through the steps, you're going to start to see there's some patterns. There's some things about you that are going to be revealed. And I think already in step 1 and 2, some of you are starting to see some of those patterns because you're doing the work, and you're starting to say, such and such told me about this about myself. That's another thing. If you are kind of shy, or you're not, you say, oh, I don't think of myself that way. You know, a lot of times people feel that way. Ask someone close to you, what are my strengths? You would be surprised. They're like, you don't know? And they're going to tell you what your strengths are. Now, maybe they gave you one. Ask somebody else. Ask some coworkers. Ask your boss. They're going to give you some of your strength areas. And those are the things that you can ponder on and reflect. And then when they share those things, because you'd be surprised, people that are watching you every day, they know how strong you are in areas, just like they know how weak you are. But if they know how strong you are in those areas and they're willing to tell you that, take that and write it in your journal. Even if you don't believe it, write it down and say, and then sit. I'm always going to tell you to reflect, sit and say, why would they say that about me? Why would they say that I'm this person or I'm strong in these areas? And just sit with that. You're going to find that all of a sudden memory comes up, and you're going to see some things in your life when you were a child, when you were in high school, right? Middle school. You're going to see in the community, whether it's your faith-based organizations, when you were in, like I said, wherever you find yourself, wherever you love to be, you're going to find that there's some strengths that have always come up. Some of you are, you know, always being pulled on as leaders. Yeah. Well, there's some strengths that leaders have to have. Look it up. You probably are going to find out you have those as well. And then some of you, you enjoy following people. It's nothing quite like it. Because you know what? You don't have all the responsibility. So maybe you're one of those people, you know what? I just enjoy helping other people to be strong in their area. That's a good place to be. Your support, a great support. Some people would call that a servant leader. Think about that. So I just want you to really identify, first reflect within, and then go out and ask some people, who do you say I am? Does that sound familiar? Who do you say I am? You know, and this is the most important. Ask God, what are my strengths? He will begin to show you through your own reflection, as well as other people telling you, as well as guiding you to memory and some other things. So I want you to really focus on that, okay? All right. And then the second part of we're going to analyze your strengths and weaknesses is the weakness part. A lot of times we don't want to talk about our weaknesses, right? We avoid our weaknesses. We're like, no, I don't want anyone to know that I'm a shortcoming in this area. But everybody can see it. Yeah, exactly. Everyone can see it. I know a lot of times we think, I'm hiding it. I'm hiding my weakness. No, we're not. Everyone who's close to you can see where you're weak. And sometimes we can show our weaknesses even to people who are not close to us. And many times there's nothing wrong with being vulnerable, but being vulnerable around the right people. Okay? Because sometimes you need help. Sometimes you have to figure out, well, if I'm weak in these areas, sometimes we want to be stronger in those areas. But guess what? Sometimes it's okay not to be strong in those areas because it makes you who you are. If everyone was strong in every single area, we wouldn't need each other. Think about that. We wouldn't need each other. If everyone at your job was extremely strong in every area, we wouldn't need each other. That's why when a company hires people, they hire people for a different skill set, and all of them come together in a team and they work together, right? Because some people are stronger in some areas. Some people are better communicators. Some people work excellent, hopefully everyone, if you're, teamwork at the job. But at the same time, you're going to have some other professionalism. Everybody's going to have a degree of these, career readiness skills. You're going to have a degree of them. But there's going to be some people that are just better leaders than other people. Doesn't mean you're not a leader. It just means that you may not be the top leader, or in this situation, you're not the leader, right? So at different times, you're going to be stronger in some areas. And guess what? If everywhere you've ever gone, you've always been the strongest in every area, then guess what? You've got to get to some areas, because there's a lot of other people that are stronger than you. And that's okay, because that's how you learn. That's how you get, you flex those, those learning muscles, so you can begin to understand, okay, I'm not the best at these things. And there are other people besides me who have other skill set. And when you align with them, you begin to learn more than what you know currently. See, it's okay. One of the things we talked about before, people who say, oh, I'm a perfectionist in a job interview, a perfectionist. You're sabotaging yourself. You don't want to be a perfectionist in that. What you want to do is, I always do my best. And I realize that I'm not perfect. When I find that I have a shortcoming, I try to overcome it. I try to do what I can. And if I'm unable to, I pull in other people, other partners that can do something that I can't. Do you see how that looks different? So you don't always have to have all the skills. That's why I need you to define that on paper. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? It's okay if you have some. Okay? And I want to share a scripture with you on weakness. Yeah, because there's nothing new under the sun. The Bible has instructions for everything. Okay? This particular one is in 2 Corinthians chapter 12. And Paul quotes Jesus, who said, my grace is sufficient for you. Well, in this particular passage, it was about taking away the very thing that was a weakness, taking away the very thing that was causing a shortcoming, taking away the thing that was bringing me down. Does that sound familiar? Sometimes you don't need a weakness taken from you. Like I said, it defines you. It makes you exactly who you are. Very unique. Very unique. And it goes on and it says, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. See, when we admit that I'm not perfect and we yield that to God, and He's able to help us in our situation and bring us to an understanding that He is greater than we are, and He does know best in our lives. And it goes on and says, God is perfect in every way, giving Him the power to make up for any weaknesses we have. So I encourage you today, if you feel, well, I have these weaknesses and I want them gone, there's nothing wrong with working on our weaknesses. I'm not telling you not to do that. You should definitely work on your weaknesses, because I don't want you walking around and you could work on something and be stronger in an area. But there's going to be some of you, no matter what you do, you're never going to be the strongest in that area. Okay, so let me say this. I love to sing. I'm a psalmist, and I practice. Well, I did before. I don't do a lot now, but I did at one time. But guess what? I never was the best. I just was better because I practiced. And there were people who loved to hear me because I practiced. But I never was the best. There were still weaknesses in my voice. Do you understand? Like, you're never going to be that person. But what you should be encouraged of is that you can work on it to make it to a point where you can utilize it, right? But always know, I still am going to need other people on this journey. I am not a silo. I need others, right? Because if we go back to Romans 8:28, all things work together for our good. So I want you to think about that. As this week, you are unpacking and analyzing your strengths and your weaknesses. Many of you have them. I have them. And when I'm in interviews, I look at what are my strengths. I go to my strengths. I try to focus on making my weaknesses better. But at the same time, I don't allow it to cloud me to a point where I don't move forward. I don't allow the weaknesses to put me in a box where, well, that's your weakness. You shouldn't try. Why shouldn't I try? I should try no matter what. Even if there's a weakness in your career transition, you should still try. You should try to make the weakness better, even if it's never going to be 100%. It's okay. And being okay with that, that's another thing. I want you to reflect on what I'm saying. Being okay with what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are. And utilizing them together to move forward and being okay with who you are. You never have to be anything that you are not. And guess what? If you go and do something and you don't get a job or an opportunity or you don't get something, it doesn't make you any less. You are still unique and wonderfully made. Well, I'm Shirley Farrar, and this has been Encouragement on Fire. I'll talk to you soon.